You're watching The Agenda. Now, financial services group Nedbank announced in early June that it is on the hunt for a new CEO, as the incumbent Mike Brown indicated his plans to retire. Brown has served as CEO for the past 13 years and was CFO beforehand. He has been one of the most vocal CEOs when South Africa's economic direction was a concern. SABC News business reporter Nompumelelo Siziba caught up with Mike Brown just to ask him about his experiences as CEO at the Green Bank and what he is looking forward to doing in retirement.
Nedbank has recently announced that its CEO Mike Brown is retiring this year, and I'm in conversation with him to find out what his plans are and to get his reflections on his tenure as CEO at the bank. Thanks very much, Mike, for joining me. And of course, we wish you all the very best in your future endeavors. But perhaps we can just go back a little bit and you can tell us stuff perhaps people don't know about you. Tell us a little bit about your background, your educational background, and where you grew up.
Well, first and foremost, we didn't announce that I'm retiring this year. All the bank announced is the start of a process to search for a successor for me, and that's likely to take longer than the end of this year.
Okay.
So just to get the facts out there.
No, that's fine.
But certainly if I stand back and look at how I started out in this environment, I completed my schooling at Maritzburg College in KwaZulu-Natal, and then went to university at University of KZN, where I studied towards a chartered accountancy qualification. I think extremely fortunate to have finished my final year at university as the top final year student, which I think gives you a good step in when you start articles thereafter. And I started at Deloitte & Touche in the Durban office, and again very fortunate early on to be put into a grouping that was auditing essentially financial services companies in Durban. And that was the time going back into the mid-80s where many of the building societies were transitioning from building societies to banks and listing. And my main client at that time was a bank called NBS Bank. And I thoroughly enjoyed all the audit work that I did there. And that's really where my grounding in banking came from. I then spent 2 years working overseas, some of it for Deloitte, some of it doing my own thing. And when I came back to South Africa in the early 90s, a very short tenure back at Deloitte before I got an offer to join NBS Bank, which was my large client prior to me leaving. And really that was in 1993, and that's still the job that I have today. I haven't changed businesses that I work for. NBS subsequently merged with Boland Bank. All of that was bought by BOE, and all of that was bought by Nedbank. But starting out in a relatively small bank and then going through all of these mergers very definitely gave me a depth and breadth of experience that's unusual to get in a large organization. And then that shift, I sort of roll forward to 2003, where I was appointed as the Chief Financial Officer of Nedbank, and then 2010 becoming the CEO. But looking back over that period, certainly hugely grateful for the breadth and depth of experience that I had, but also, the people that I was fortunate enough to work with early on. A number of people in NBS Bank, I think particularly of somebody like Paul Leafright, who I learned an extraordinary amount from. And then later on in my career, working very closely with Tom Boardman as he took over as CEO of Nedbank after a difficult period for us, and being part of the team in that Nedbank turnaround. So that gives you a little bit of a lens on my history up to becoming the CEO in 2010.
So, Mike, given the fact that you are here and you're not going anywhere, as you've told us and explained to us, while the process for a new CEO is underway, does that mean that you're going to be holding the hand of any successor that comes in?
Yeah, absolutely. I think being the chief executive of a large systemically important bank is both an extraordinary privilege, but also a huge responsibility. And I still fortunately have the support of board and shareholders, and I've committed to our board that I'm not going anywhere until such time as this process has been, fully and diligently completed, however long that might take, yes, and a proper handover process has been completed.
So with word on the street that you are going to retire, some quarters are saying that Nedbank should have a black CEO, which would be a first for the company. Of course, that's probably not a decision that you have much bearing over in terms of your influence, but just give us a sense over the 14 years that you've been CEO around your feelings in terms of transformation at the bank. Are you proud of what you've seen in terms of transformation at the bank at all levels of the organization?
Yeah, certainly. Look, I think we all know that transformation is a journey, and we're not yet satisfied with where we are, and there's more work to be done. But if you look back at the transformation of Nedbank over many years, reflected in one hand by our level 1 rating for 5 years in a row now under the financial sector scorecard. Not a great fan of scorecards as a measure of transformation. Transformation is much more about the look and feel of the place than adding together all of the maths, but it's certainly one measure. But we've also won, numerous awards. You may know that at the Top Empowerment Awards in 2021, Nedbank won Top Empowered Company of the Year. So it's certainly something that we're very focused on. But I think what's much more important for Nedbank than the color of the next CEO is ensuring that it's the right person.
Absolutely. No, that's a fair enough point. Nedbank is known as the green bank, not only for its color, but also its credentials as well. But of course, being a bank that's based in South Africa and on the wider continent, how have you balanced the need to fund development on the one hand, which is crucial for the African continent, while at the same time, obviously ensuring that there's lesser investment in those investments or initiatives that are less climate friendly?
Yeah, so I think the challenge for everybody in the climate journey that the world is on and South Africa is on and Africa is on is we all know roughly where we are today in terms of carbon emissions. So we have a starting point and we know where we